Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this August 1st version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we're on the EOA network. And here in a bit, we're going to have the city manager from Elgin on vacation this week. Alex McHaddad will be with us. How are you, man?
First Friday, first day of August. It's already here.
I know.
But that's like a sigh of relief, like it finally starting to get back into just
Yeah,
regular.
I was just thinking about it. I mean, when I looked at the date, and it's just crazy that.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like
It's only a month of summer before
right.
the kids go.
It seems like it was just the first of the year. Yeah. And I was thinking about okay, man, fall's coming. Whatever it is that we got to get used to fall. I mean, it's just Our lives are in this office are so seasonal. I mean, it's just they're sectioned out with seasons,
And when like if you're a young person, I don't know how many young people watch this, but when your parents tell you to enjoy life when you're young because it starts moving really fast, they ain't lying.
No,
No, it seems like when I was a kid, it seemed like like the school year took forever, right? 10 years.
Yeah.
And now it seems like the school year's like here and
Just
then
a
it's
blip.
gone.
Yeah.
It's like gone. My kids were born.
Yeah.
They're all, 2 out of 3 of them are gone, grown up. It's like, where did all that go?
Yeah. So Greenwood got a new principal. Do you know her?
I don't.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I passed that.
A lot of people must know her
Man,
because
it
there's a
blew
lot of
up,
comments.
yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea who she is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did see a comment on there. Somebody said, "What happened to the old principal?"
Yeah.
What did happen to the old principal?
They took another job.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was in the press
Oh, was
release.
it? Okay.
Yeah. That they,
I didn't read the article. I just read the comments.
Yeah. So, no, it was, man, I was surprised. There was just a lot of people. Well, and she'd been in and out of the
She must have
school
been.
district.
Yeah, she's worked in the district
Yeah.
offices, I think.
Yeah.
What was her name? Something Koenig?
don't know.
I know that. Koenig. Maddie Koenig, maybe? Let me look it up.
I think that's right.
I'm going to feel really bad if I said the wrong
Yeah.
name.
Well,
I don't have to
so
go
congratulations.
far. Yeah.
Clearly, a lot of people know her, and that's good. When we talked when George was on the show a couple of weeks ago, he had mentioned that they were about ready to.
Dr. Maddie Koenig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce your last name?
I would say Koenig.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there was a player in the Shrine game this year with that exact same spelling. And he told me how to pronounce his name, and it was Kaynig. But it's spelled Koenig.
And you pronounce it how?
Koenig.
K what?
Koenig.
Nay? K-nay?
Koenig.
Koenig. Okay,
Yeah,
got
Koenig.
it.
Like
Got it.
Kaynig, but it's spelled Koenig.
All
Maybe
right.
if somebody's watching and knows and I'm wrong,
Yeah.
correct me. I would feel bad. Yesterday, I got to hang out with a bunch of vets. It was kind of cool. They had lunch next door. 4 of them over there yesterday. Dan Landa, who runs Eastern Oregon Vets, he used to be part of the Veterans Back 40. He said last week at their lunch, they had their most ever, 21. And it just depends on, how many guys are available and probably where they're going. But that in those pictures, that was Gary Hager. He's a Navy vet. Jose Morale Jr., who's an Army vet, and Larry Hayes, who's an Army vet, and then Dan Landa, who's an Army vet. And we sat over there, and I just talked to them and told them about what we do here, and they told me about their service, and we talked about, where we were from. Like I told them about how I grew up with my grandpa down in Southern California. I spent a lot of time on the Marine Corps base, Camp Pendleton, and they were fun. They were actually fun. The one of them told a joke. I can't tell it on here, but it was a good one. Yeah, we had a good time. I'm glad I went over there. Dan can't stop by here just to say hi, and I was like, "Oh, you guys having your lunch over there? Let me grab my camera." So I really only went over there to just take some pictures of them and give them some love, and then I ended up sitting down and chatting with them for a while, and it was very much worth my time. It was really cool. Yeah.
No, and you know, we had Dan on the show. We were still remote. It might have been like at the tail end of COVID or during COVID.
Yeah, but he came in. Oh, but he sat in the other room. Yeah, we're
Right.
still doing.
Yeah.
It was during COVID. It had to
yeah,
have been.
yeah, and so
And that was when he was still with Veterans Back
right,
40.
right, yeah,
And he's kind of stepped away from that role and is running Eastern Oregon Veterans now. Him and Cody Vela.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a powerhouse. He's got a lot of enthusiasm with whatever he
he's
does.
very
he does.
passionate about everything that he does.
Yeah,
And he's very passionate about veterans, and we need more of that. I mean,
yeah.
if there is a group that gets overlooked a lot, our veterans get overlooked a lot.
See, I think I saw a number, 800 or 900 vets in our area.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We have a substantial population of elderly folks.
Maybe it is.
And,
Maybe it is.
you know, if
Maybe
you
it's
go
got to be
back-
more than that. But I remember seeing the number, and it was like, yeah, that's substantial. That's
Right. Right. I mean, if you think about like Korea and Vietnam, those guys are, Korea's, they're about 80, right? 85 probably, right in that area. And Vietnam's 70, 75, or right around that area.
So they're a little bit older.
Are they?
Yeah. So the Korea vets have got to be close to 90 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, because the World War II vets are all in their late 90s if they're still living.
Yeah, like 99.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
almost 100.
Yeah. So
And then you also have Enduring Freedom vets. You
Right,
have
right,
the Iraq War vets. What was that Iraq War called? Was that Enduring Freedom? There was a name. Oh, Desert Storm.
Yeah,
Desert Storm vets. You have Desert Shield. You have, I mean, quite a few vets
Yeah.
in between there too, right? And do you have to be considered a vet? You don't have to have served in a war, right? You just
no, so those are veteran of
foreign wars.
wars.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a different.
Yeah,
but
it's
you just being in the military, you're a veteran.
Right. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
And regardless, I mean, it doesn't matter if you went to a war or not. You signed that paper that said you would protect us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
You gave a part of your life somehow.
absolutely yeah. 4 years, most of them minimum,
Yeah.
which is a substantial chunk of your adult life. Some of them way more than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was cool. That was a fun time. I hope I get to do that again one of those
Yeah.
days.
No. Anytime. Yeah. You and I talked yesterday. Anytime that we can give veterans love,
I'm all for it.
yeah, that's a good
100%.
thing, man. So, well, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams and LeGrand. Go check them out. They have everything from mattresses to, as you can see right here, a love seat and a sofa that recline. This is right off of their Facebook page. Go check out what the Daggett family has to offer. They're always involved in everything in this community. They sponsor my sports show, and their business is very much worth checking out. EOU was named a 5-star gold winner and champion in the Characters Award. This award is presented by the NAIA, and it recognizes like athletics, but it's also just like how they act on the field. So like one of the things that they look at is how many ejections there are. One of the things they look at is, it's not just on the field, but it is one of those awards where some of the criteria is on the field and then some of it's off the field. And it's basically character-driven sportsmanship and stewardship at the school. And EOU, I think there was like 17 or something gold universities, and EOU is one of them. And that's a really cool honor. So congratulations to EOU. LHS football kicks off their season on the 30th of this month. Can you believe that? 29 days away. Right here in LeGrand versus Astoria at 6 o'clock. Tiger Volleyball kicks off their season with the Hannah Cashel Memorial on the next day, the following Saturday on August 31st here in LeGrand. Boys soccer and girls soccer start their season on the same day as football, and they have home games as well at 12 and 2. So that Friday is going to be packed, full of games. 12, 2, 6. Soccer boys, soccer girls, football. It's going to be crazy. The LHS football team is hosting a kids football camp from August 5th through 8th. The cost of the camp is $60 per participant, which will be paid on the first day of camp. You either have to bring cash or a check made out to LHS football. The dates and the times are as follows. 2nd through 5th graders will go Monday, August 5th through Thursday, August 8th from 4 to 5:15 p.m. And then 6th through 8th graders will go Monday, August 5th through Thursday, August 8th from 5:15 to 6:30. So if you have a kid that's in that range and you want to sign up, show up on Monday, the 5th at either 4 or 5:15 based on how old your child is, and bring the $60 with you, and that money goes to the LeGrand High School football program. It's all taught, the camp's all ran by high school football players, and it's a fundraiser that they do. Last thing for the sports segment here today is the Cade's Courage, the McKinley family. I'm going to put this up until there is no GoFundMe anymore. That's the QR code on the screen for the GoFundMe for the McKinley family. I still have some bracelets, which are shown on the screen here at the studio. They're free if you're interested. If you're not interested in using GoFundMe, there's an account set up at US Bank for the McKinley family. Cade's a 3-sport athlete going into his sophomore year at LeGrand High School and was diagnosed with a form of Ewing sarcoma cancer, and the family needs help. And they have a long haul of treatment in front of them, and one of those things that I talk about a lot on my show is like a community helping each other out, and this is that perfect opportunity. And a sports report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. I keep getting distracted, BC, because my light is pointing out the window. look at it. I'm like, what happened to that light?
I was wondering.
That's why my face is so dark.
I was wondering what the deal is.
I can't, yeah. I'm like I keep seeing a squirrel over there.
Yeah, so go to the wide shot for a second, Gabe. Yeah. Go to the,
No, the wide shot.
Yeah,
yes.
you were there. Go to that wide shot. There you go. Yeah, see.
That light that is pointing at the camera right now should be pointing at my face. And I keep looking at it and I'm like, something's off here.
Well, it was funny when I saw that earlier, like, what is that?
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it until I started
Till you started doing
reading.
your thing.
Yeah. I did not notice it when we were doing the pregame.
But if you saw the studio, you would know, because we, like all of the cameras that are in the studio, they all went to the Shrine game, and a couple of the tripods, and so everything was totally upended for that, and so we're.
It's no. I mean, it's.
I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we're still operating.
Absolutely, yeah. Me too.
And it was a big lift even to get things ready for the Tuesday show. So.
Yeah. I didn't notice it on Tuesday. Did you?
Well, it probably got bumped.
Yeah, it probably did. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all good. No one wants to see my ugly mug anyway, so keep that light pointed over there. I'm good with it.
Yeah, that's funny. All righty. Well, hey, let's look at the outside. Our weather camera is still down, which reminds me of.
Look at tomorrow, though. I mean, today's triple digits.
104 tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
too much. I like the heat, but that's too much.
Yeah. Well, and thank the Lord, our air conditioning is back up and working.
Yeah, I turned it on. I don't usually touch it, but when I got in today, it was 80 and it was 80 on the thing, and I was sweating. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go turn that.
Do,
I'll usually wait until you get here.
Yeah, because when I come in at like a little after 7 or 7, it's like, how come somebody didn't turn this down, for crying out loud? Yeah. Anyhow, so
that's funny.
Yeah. Well,
I got her today for sure.
Yeah, so 100 today, 104 tomorrow.
Oof.
Yep. So, and the Union County Fair is this weekend. So,
it's already started. Yeah, it's going on right now.
Yeah, and so good weather for the fair weekend, but
you ain't gonna catch me out there.
It's gonna be hot. Yeah. It's gonna be warm. I think that if I
might go out there in the evening.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like to do. You know, the Lions.
I like the live music.
The Lions have. They do hamburgers out there in the evening, and and I'm friends with several of those people from that club, and they have a fundraiser where they do that and stuff. But
I like the live. I used to work at the fair when I was a kid. My uncle was the president for a while.
Oh,
and I used to be on the
Union
garbage
County Fair?
crew. Yeah. When I was like middle school age, I was on the garbage crew. Like
they're
changing
doing
garbage.
they're
in the
doing
evening.
some they're doing some rebranding and stuff local. I mean, their signs look really good. They've got a new logo, and I talked to them. It's clearly too late, but I mean, I talked to them last week and said, like, hey, we want to be sure and be a media sponsor next year and kind of help get them. Yeah,
I'm all for it.
yeah, help maybe get the word out about the good things they're doing out there. So
Maybe we can find out a way to get a carnival back during the fair too, because that attracts a lot of people.
yeah, it is. You know what the story is with that whole problem?
Yeah, there's not a lot left in Oregon.
Yeah, well,
COVID wiped them out. And
well, no, I mean, I guess there were like 3 families that did carnivals, and 2 of them just retired.
yeah,
Yeah, and so then the demand is just huge. So,
they did do a carnival here a couple weeks ago.
well, that's what I heard, but I never did. I mean, if
People,
it really
I saw
happened,
pictures. Yeah, it really
Did you?
happened. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
happened.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, and we hear about everything, and so for it just to happen by word of mouth and no publication, anyhow. All right. Well, hey, Alex McHaddad from City of Elgin is with us. He's the Elgin City Manager and a good friend of ours. He's been involved with EOA Live TV for 7 or 8 years, a long time. So, anyhow, he'll be with us right after this.
It's too much stuff to break for me. I have enough trouble. You look at this thing, dude. This thing's already.
All right, we're back with. Oh, are we back? Yeah, we are back. Back with Mr. Alex McHaddad, and yeah.
Sorry, shameless plug for my boy Todd Nash.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm on vacation. It's been a nonstop whirlwind over in the Jewel of the Blue Mountains since I got here in spring, and yeah, it's nice to be able to sit back and rest.
Yeah. Well, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit because I don't know when you first got. When I was first introduced, Will Bowman first introduced you to me. And is like Alex really likes politics and he's really involved in that, and that was kind of your introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, so you first had me on at the beginning of 2017. There was a statewide ballot measure that had gone on the ballot for a special election. Like, hey, we should come and see what this is actually about. Just give kind of a overview of the policy. Like, what do you think? How are you going to vote? And it was like my least favorite ballot measure ever, but might as well talk about it because we all have to vote.
Right. Well, and that's kind of been your expertise, is to try and explain difficult things, complicated things to us, and break it down into a way that people could understand that.
Yeah, that's my deal. I mean, I like to help people understand. That's why I wrote a book I published it 2 years ago. It's called Beaver State Confidential, and it's just a very simple, nonpartisan citizens primer to Oregon government. What does the governor actually do?
Yeah,
do they have their own
I read
mansion?
that.
There you go.
Yeah,
I do like breaking things down so that there's a level playing field. We may still disagree afterward, but at least we know what's actually on the table. And that's why I usually have different opinions about everything from everybody else, because I break it down to very simple steps and go, I don't actually like that.
Yeah.
or I do.
Well, and you've written a lot of books. I mean, is that something you've done over?
Yeah.
I mean, when did you start writing?
Creative writing is something that I got into when I was in 5th grade. I'd had this story in the back of my mind for a while, and my dad handed me an old Windows 95 laptop and said, all right, start writing. So I started writing, and I just haven't been able to stop since then. I published my first novel at the beginning of 2022. And I've published a couple since then. I published my most recent one, Sands of Janna Akbar Nights, at the beginning of this year. That's a medieval fantasy adventure. And I'm working on the third one in that trilogy. I think I've only got 9 chapters left. It's longer than the Silmarillion so far, and it's probably going to be about as long as Dune when it's done. So, yeah, I've been doing nothing but writing this whole week.
Wow. And then somewhere in there, not too long ago, you squeezed in getting married. And
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that too. I love you. She's probably watching. I hope she's watching.
yeah, no, that's you just have a super varied life. And when you've written things for me, I'm like, okay, good, but less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't help being verbose.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
yeah,
Put it in layman terms. Like,
Yeah.
dumb it down for me a little bit.
It's funny because there's a podcast that I listen to, and it's just a book summarizations, and it's super interesting. It's called 20-minute books or something like that, and and you can. I mean, this guy takes different books out there, and he dumbs
I
them
wish
down.
I knew about that podcast when I was in 5th grade and I had to turn in a book report.
I don't know that. Well, that's when Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't have a podcast when I was in 5th grade, you see.
Yeah. So what do you think of the whole AI writing thing? Man, I mean, there's kind of for a writer.
I have yet to find a single use for any AI technology. I have never gotten AI to write anything useful in any capacity.
You know, what's funny is I saw a post the other day, which I totally agree with, and that was like, if it were, his thing was artificial intelligence doesn't exist. If it really existed, then it would exist. It would be able to come up with something totally on its own. What we are seeing is algorithms that are going out and gathering different things from other people,
Absolutely.
No, I don't. It's so funny because every company, they kind of presume that everybody wants AI, and so then when you have Google now, this is the AI results, or even
I kind of like the AI results on
Do you?
Google sometimes, just because when you're looking for something very specific, like the answer to a question,
yeah,
that's very specific.
Yeah.
You have it'll give you when the old Google, it would say, all these different websites that you can go to find that answer,
Yeah.
right? The AI will actually give you that specific answer, right? And
and
I
for
kinda
me,
like that.
like I don't even pay attention to that. I mean, I probably will now, but like even Adobe Acrobat has a little icon down in the corner for AI, and it's like, why? I mean, so the point is there's a presumption that everybody loves AI.
Yeah, well, I don't. So I was a speechwriter for our state representative, Bobby Levy, during the 2023 legislative session, and we had to write 1 million speeches, and I was sitting there thinking, maybe AI is onto something. Maybe I can punch in a couple of prompts about some bills and see if it can give me some ideas to, put together something cohesive. And there was one specific bill that was really controversial, and it kept coming up with really weak, limited emotional appeals without really delving into the policy that was actually at play. I'm like, this would get you like a C+ in a communications course in community college. This isn't useful for anything. So it left me with a really bad taste, and I'm like, I'm never going to do this again. There's nothing in AI that is valuable. It doesn't understand policy analysis.
The funny thing, Alex, about AI is they have AI checkers that check for AI.
Right.
It's
right.
crazy. Like college professors use it to make sure that you're not using AI to
Right.
write your paper, but it's a form of AI that's checking
Right.
for AI.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to call it AI, algorithms that check for certain, sentence structures and certain word placement, and so it's basically AI battling AI for a grade.
I saw a high school teacher that did a post on how to keep your students from using it or be able to identify, and she said, so I'll have them do a paper and it'll be like mention these 3 points or talk about these 3 different things, but at the end of one of those, in tiny script that was white, so you couldn't see it, it would say pink dragon. Okay, so then the students that were using AI, they would just take and they would copy all of that stuff and they would put it in AI, and AI would spit out a paper. Well, in that text somewhere it would mention pink dragon.
And she would know.
And
yeah.
she would know this,
Like
like,
a
oh,
code
he just
word,
had somebody
basically.
else. Yeah. Anyhow.
That's kind of a good idea.
Yeah, I thought that was very clever. Like, except now the gig is up. Everybody's going to be looking for, like, they're going to actually read what the AI produces for them.
Yeah. That's the way we test professors at EOU if they were actually reading our work. A friend of mine put the word ostrich randomly in his capstone paper, 20 places. The professor said nothing about it.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of times, though, it's not professors reading; it's grad students.
TAs, yeah.
TAs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way a professor can sit there and read every single paper that ever, you know what I mean, for a whole term. That's why they have that. And TAs, they're making, you know what I mean, they're making chicken scratch for it, so they're just like, C plus.
I tell you, I taught college for 4 years, audio and video production and photography, and I tell you, the grading, I did not have a TA. That was kind of what I was a TA. I was a teaching fellow, they call it. And I tell you, the grading the papers or the tests or whatever, that was the worst part of the job.
Sure.
Oh, I mean, because it was just so
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's monotonous.
It is, especially if you had if there was a paragraph, if you had the student was supposed to explain, how depth of field works, well then there's a paragraph of information and you had to read every one of those.
Yeah, 65 times or whatever.
Yeah.
You're just like, by number 4, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, I remember one of the questions on my test was what is crop? We know when you crop a photo because it was a photography exam. Define crop? And the guy wrote, it's what a French man says when he stubs his toe. Crop.
That's funny. All time. Dang it.
Yeah. Anyhow, so no, I think that what do you think about how? AI. Everything is based. It's just crazy. It's prolific, but it's all based on other people's work. How in the world? How in the world is that even going to be policed? You know what I mean? How do you?
It's not. The big tech companies pushing this have no respect for anybody's intellectual property. They just think that everybody wants it. They're shoving it down our throats, and it's not really coming up with anything of value to most people who use it. It's good for some technical things, like it can automate writing code, which is really cool. You don't even have to pay people to write code anymore, so
Right.
Goodbye programming. But then it can't code itself into existence. But other things, again, like doing real substantive writing, policy analysis work like I do, there is no AI in the world that can do it. It just does not understand policy analysis.
Yeah.
I read an article where a guy works for some big company, and they hired this company to take this data and I don't remember exactly what the data was, but to put it into a spreadsheet, and it would come in at certain times, and they wanted it onto this spreadsheet, whatever, Excel, and he used AI to develop a program that did it automatically, and he was making $70,000 a year, and they were paying the company that he worked for just for this thing that he came up with, $70,000 a month.
Wow.
I think we're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Right, for reals. Yeah, for reals.
Well, I know that, Brady, my son, is a computer programmer, software engineer, and they use AI to check their code. You know what I mean? So because you're often depending on how big the organization is, when you're writing code, you have other people that are quality control. That
are testing it and checking it.
So you're checking each other's stuff, and there are times they're using it for that purpose.
Yeah, that could make sense.
Yeah. So, no, it's kind of crazy how it's all changed. And on social media, I see it all the time where people they'll like make a rock song, or they'll make a rock song that is based upon my cat being out on the picnic table or something like that, and the AI will write the lyrics. It is just
The other
crazy.
thing, Alex, and you might know a little bit about this. I don't. I know that it happens. Somehow AI is tied to photoshopping now too, because you see all these, like you hear about the Taylor Swift scandal. You see all these pictures on social media nowadays that are popping up from these random sites, and they're celebrities with different You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does AI have to do with that? Do you know?
Well, it's not what we're talking about really, and the big thing that when most people talk about AI, they're talking about generative AI, which is you give it a prompt, it controls existing media and art and written words and puts it together. So you say, hey, give me a picture of a soldier in a wheelchair, and it'll spit out something with 3 legs that has a vaguely camouflaged shirt on. And then boomers start sharing it going, why don't pictures like this ever trend? Well,
but that's a conglomeration of pictures that already existed.
Yeah, it'll
right?
go, oh, you want a veteran in a wheelchair? Okay, well, it'll give you that, but it's going to have 3 legs, and one of them's going to be like behind his ear or something like that. It's not good.
All right.
Part of the reason I just don't like it, because it doesn't come up with anything valuable. Sometimes it does, like in coding, for example. Again, it's good for computer science, but not like... There's so much stuff out there that's just junk.
Yeah.
It's now feeding off itself. AI will look at other AIs.
I'm kind of that way with reaction videos. That is that happens. You see that all the time. It's like
I love them myself. I think they're awesome.
I guess what I think is like, so there are people out there that are making a living off of watching videos and then, make some stupid face and
Well, I mean, that's no different than somebody Lars Larson sitting there making a living off of people doing dumb stuff, or like a podcast host making a living off of other people's work.
I suppose so, but But a lot of those reaction videos are just facial expressions. It's like I've seen one several times where they'll have a workplace accident, or somebody will fall off of the ladder, and the guy will go, and then he'll look over here, and there'll be they are mild. But what's entertaining is the videos, not the reaction. Anyhow, I don't know. I guess the thing that I get is, where I always get is like, can I ever imagine thinking enough about my own image to put my own image of me watching something and thinking that that's going to be attractive? I guess, I don't know.
I mean, we are all pundits. We're doing reaction videos to AI right now.
This
whole thing is an AI reaction video.
That's right. Well, I'm not sure how we got on AI. Well, I took us there.
you brought it up.
I did, yeah. So, because we were talking about writing and geeky stuff. So, well, hey, so what's going on in Elgin?
Well, I think we got 3 things that we can talk about today. The first one is Cycle Oregon. It's coming back to Union County. It was here in 2018. At the time, I was the community coordinator for their stop in the Grand.
Right. No Bill Walton this year. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Mashallah.
He was here in 2018.
Oh, yeah?
Bill Walton.
I have no idea who that is.
Cycle Oregon.
Good for him.
He won NBA championship with the Blazers.
Oh, wow.
Hall of Famer.
Very cool.
Yeah, he just passed away.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, God rest his soul.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, the week of September 8th, 9th, 10th, and then back on the 13th. They're just going to be rolling around. They've got a ride that's going to take them from Elgin to Joseph and back. So there's going to be volunteer opportunities throughout the week when they're in town. They're going to do kind of a festival. So Woody Park downtown will have booths and vendors and things. And, these Cycle Oregon people come and they end up spending a lot of money. So if you're an artist, you can contact there's community managers. So there's 3 people you can call. Doreen Baker, 619-247-9633. Kathy Rysdam, 541-437-2054. Or Mayor Emeritus Alan Duffy is one of the other community coordinators, 541-240-9763. If you're interested in volunteering, you can feel free to contact those community managers. They are trying to look for volunteers, so give them a call.
Good.
What does emeritus mean, real fast? Just
Emeritus
for the
means
people that
former.
don't- Okay.
It's just
I didn't know.
it's a
Yeah.
fancy way of saying used to be. Like
Yeah.
I'm the city manager emeritus of Sodaville, Oregon. It's not like an official title.
So like
it's
we say, BC is young emeritus.
Yeah, there you go. Young emeritus teaching fellow at whichever university it was.
It's most often used, smart Alex, like with professors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if a retired professor is
Okay. I don't know if I've ever heard that word
Yeah.
before, honestly.
I've
I mean,
seen
I
it,
probably
but
have,
I don't know if I've heard it much.
I
Yeah.
didn't know what it meant for sure.
Yeah.
It's not an official title. It just describes the state of being. I could use the fancy term emeritus. Mayor emeritus or former mayor. Mayor emeritus sounds cooler than former mayor. So
That's true. Okay.
say Mayor emeritus Alan Duffy. God bless him.
Yeah.
All right. So what else is going on?
So we've had this project that's been in the works for the last 10 years or so called the Joseph Branch Trail. And the idea is to build a walking trail between the Walla Union Railroad line and the Grand Ronde River that will be able to let you walk from Elgin all the way to Wallowa Lake, which I think is pretty cool. It's something
It's a
they've
long walk.
It is a long walk, but it's pristine hiking ground. We had a town hall about it last week. The issue that they're dealing with right now is that they have to get the Wallowa Union Railroad to sign off as the landowner for them to be able to apply for a conditional use permit with the Union County Planning Commission. But I'm hoping that WARA will allow them to move forward and let them have their day at the Planning Commission and let the chips fall there. It is a pretty cool project. That's lots of pristine area that you can just take a look and see. If you've ever been on the rail riders that allow you to take or the Friends of the Joseph Branch is the train that lets you go from Elgin up to Mineham or thereabouts and then
Yeah.
back. Being able to walk that would be pretty cool. So they've built. We built a park in Elgin at the city to be the trailhead for it. It's really beautiful. We had the ribbon cutting a little while ago. And then after that, they already built, I think they built out the extent of the trail they can within Elgin city limits. Now they're moving out into Union County's territory outside the city limits. So they're just going through that process. But it's really, really exciting to see. This is one of the few economic development opportunities available to Elgin. There's been a lot of money put into it, a lot of state grant money over the last 10 years. I think ODOT gave about $200,000 to help it get going, so that's pretty cool. We're just hoping the process moves forward because it'd be really painful if after 10 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money it just evaporated. So
Yeah.
Now,
Oh, go ahead.
now is the trail between the railroad tracks or beside, or what's the plan? How does that-
it'll be between the railroad tracks and the river. So
And they own all of that, huh?
They own the
all
whole
the way
thing,
up to.
yeah.
They don't own the river,
Well,
but
they have the
own,
right of way probably for all.
Yeah.
that,
yeah,
right?
they own the land itself, and it goes all the train track itself goes all the way to Joseph.
Right.
And then of course, from Joseph you can just pop over to Wallowa Lake.
Right. And so then, okay, and so this is the step of just trying to have permission to build the trail.
Yeah.
Building the trail is that's a whole nother thing.
Well, yeah, that one's probably going to be more easy because once they get permission, it's just moving the dirt around. I mean, you do have to do some legwork to actually build a trail, but
Right. But I
that's,
wonder where
There's going to have to be campsites along the way, though, because you can't walk that in one day.
Oh no, and it's not really meant to be a one-day walking thing. It's going to be like you'll find the part that you want to walk on, and you do that. You start in Elgin, you bike up a ways, and you bike back, or you start in Mineham and you walk halfway through and back to Mineham, or you start at Mineham and go up to Willowit, that kind of thing. I don't think anybody's probably going to do the whole thing in one day.
No, but what about like campsites along the way, kind of like the Pacific Crest Trail?
It's not really intended to be a camping spot. I don't think.
Okay.
And there was some worry about that. There was the homeless camping situation that resulted in laws being passed that required you to allow camping on public areas, but the Supreme Court just killed that. So that's going to be repealed in Oregon pretty soon. That we're not going to need to allow people.
And then
to
you
camp.
run into like similar, like the problems that happen on the Pacific Crest Trail too, with weirdo, people disappearing, like weird stuff happening.
Yeah.
They probably don't want that.
No, I mean they're going to have liability insurance and a whole lot of systems in place to make sure the trail is safe. They had a public meeting about it. I think it was either like May or June, where the Wara Board established a list of conditions they want the Joseph Branch Trail Consortium to be able to prove they can meet, and they're working on that. There are legitimate concerns about public safety there, and but they are working. These problems have solutions. There have been trails like this built all over the country between a railroad and a river specifically.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like there's one in Weiser actually. It's a Weiser River Trail.
Okay.
So this has been done before all over the place. So they've been able to look at previous models and go, okay, here were those concerns, here's how they were addressed, here's the result, and the result is once they put safeguards in place, the trails ended up being very safe.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so let's go back to you said economic development opportunity.
Yeah.
And explain that. Why is this an economic development opportunity?
Well, so Elgin is, it's in Union County, and Union County overall has a lot of outdoor recreation opportunities, but there's not a whole lot in Elgin specifically. We have to go to Mira, or we have to go outside of town. We have to go to Tollgate or Spout Springs. We want to recreate or go hiking. This adds a very local hiking trail that people in town can start going to.
Right.
And it also makes it an attractive place for people out of town to come. Go, oh yeah, I want to
Come to
hike
that
the trail.
trailhead. This is the launching
They'll
point.
get their groceries. They'll get their. They'll go to the restaurants.
Right.
And the other thing we're doing, we're putting an electric car charging station at the park trailhead.
Okay.
So that's something that the city will be able to use to fund its operations and keep the park clean and things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I get that, and I guess I've never even thought about the lack of. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, and there's really not much you can do to boost Elgin's economy. Maybe we could put in another mill, or maybe some other employer wants to buy some of our industrial land and put in a warehouse. But that takes time, and there isn't a lot we can do. There's a lot more industrial land available in LeGrand, for example, than there is for Elgin. And somebody's going to go, Elgin's over there and has a little bit. LeGrand's right here and has a lot. We're going to go to LeGrand.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But there's a ton of public land around us, and just a ton of wild country that we can use to better our community. And this is something that's going to bring people to Elgin to go to Elgin rather than being a stop somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that what we're seeing, and Union is experiencing some of that, is Cove certainly is a bedroom community for LeGrand, and I think that certainly is an opportunity. Yeah. There's not much difference between driving 13 miles to Union or 20 miles to Elgin.
Yeah.
And so, I think that more and more people, and I spent some time looking at the plots of 5-acre and 10-acre lots that are available for people to buy, and build on. And there's a lot of availability out in Elgin. Now, whether the people that currently own that are willing to sell it or not, that's a different topic. But the point is there is a lot of opportunity for people in the Grand Ronde Valley to be able to move and have a place, out of the area, so out of the city. No, That's awesome. All right. Did you have something else? What you said there were 3 things.
Yes. So we put a new city charter on the ballot this fall, and amendments to the city charter haven't been super popular in the past. So this is going to be kind of a test run, I think, to see if people are willing to accept a little bit of change. The main problem is that our city charter, in its current form, was written in 1987, and it is antiquated and doesn't really. It makes Elgin a little different to operate than a lot of other cities. So if you're trying to recruit, somebody who's familiar with the way cities operate, Elgin's just got this charter that makes things very different. So it's a little more difficult to recruit professional staff at the level you want that can operate a city. So one of the biggest issues we found this year is that Elgin's city charter specifies the window in which you can file for mayor and city council every fall. And that window under the city charter is going to give people 13 days to collect signatures this year, less than 2 weeks. Just about every other city in Oregon, because they default to state law under their charter, gets 3 months to collect signatures and build up support for their campaign.
Okay.
So this city charter really disenfranchises people from being able to actively get involved in city government. You really want to hope you're able to get enough signatures in 2 weeks. You technically only need 20 verified signatures, but you end up needing to get a lot more to get on the ballot because a lot of people don't realize how they're supposed to sign. People from out of town will be like, oh yeah, I live in Elgin, even though they live outside the city limits, and they sign, and you send 20 signatures to the county clerk, and they go, okay, 6 of these are valid, go get the rest.
Yeah.
So this is a problem for citizens in Elgin who want to get involved.
Okay.
So the League of Oregon Cities is a nonpartisan association of all the cities in Oregon. And the League of Oregon Cities, since 1930s, has been providing what they call the model charter, and they update it every few years to make sure it's compliant with state laws and envisions best practices for your community. So what we're going to do is refer the model charter in its current form to the residents of Elgin. The one big thing that's going to be done differently is that we are keeping a couple of features. So the model charter would give the mayor of Elgin a 4-year term. We're going to keep the 2-year term, so that's going to be changed. The other thing is that the model charter would make my currently elected position just an appointed one. That has failed on the ballot several times over the last couple decades, so we're just going to keep the position elected. However, we will allow the charter to say that the city council can fill the vacancy in the office of city administrator for the duration of the term, because right now they can only renew me for 6 months at a time. So I have to renegotiate my contract and go through performance reviews every 6 months.
Okay.
Which is just a headache that takes up time we could be spending to use bettering lives for the citizens
Absolutely.
of Elgin.
It should not happen every 6 months.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The other thing that's pretty important right now, the city charter, every city has appointed boards and commissions where if you want to get involved but you don't want to run for office, you can apply for an appointment. And just about every city in Oregon, the mayor is in charge of recruiting and appointing people to city boards and commission. In the current city charter, nobody has that specific power. The city council collectively votes on people who apply to be on city boards and commissions, but no one person is tasked with that job, so nobody is accountable if there aren't people serving on all of our city boards and commissions. I think we were only able to recruit 4 people to serve on our city budget committee this year, and there are supposed to be 14 people on that body. So most city charters give the mayor that power, so the mayor would get that power if this charter passes, so that there's one person who's responsible for recruiting people and therefore accountable to voters for doing that job.
It's responsible and accountable is the key word. Yeah,
that's it.
Like it's your job to do that.
Yeah. Right now it's nobody's job. It's just the council is reactive to people wanting to do stuff. Now somebody will proactively have to go out and do something.
I like that.
If it passes.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wow. And so have they tried changing the charter in the past, you said?
Oh yeah. I mean, every year they put a couple of different things on the ballot.
And have they been successful at doing that?
No. No. Just point blank. I think in 2022 there were 3 potential charter amendments, and only one of them passed. The 3 proposed amendments were allow people to file for council by paying a fee rather than collecting signatures.
Right, and I was going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah, it was make the city manager appointed rather than elected, and the third one was change the title of the manager from recorder/administrator to just administrator. And changing the title to just administrator is the only one that passed out of the three.
Okay.
So I get the feeling people don't want their city manager to be appointed, so we're not going to ask them to do that this year. Instead, we're going to give them a city charter that makes Elgin operate in a much more modern fashion. And
Well, my hunch is, is that, charter changes take a lot of explanation. I mean, charters are difficult to change for a reason. That's, and so then to change it, so even if you change wording, it takes a lot of explanation. And part of that is just voter fatigue. It's like, what's wrong with how we're doing it now? I'm just like, no, I don't. So they don't even educate themselves.
Yep.
And I certainly
They don't even look at it.
Right. I certainly feel that. I'm certainly guilty of that from time to time. It's like that's not worth my time to investigate to figure out whether this is credible or not. We're doing okay the way we are, so
well, I think we got an eye-opener this year. For the last several years, the county clerk has always told the city, "No, you can just ignore your charter and do the 3-month filing window." But now we come to find this year, because I was trying to put together the ballot paperwork and realize, oh no, we've only got 13 days to do it under the city charter. And the state elections division says you have to follow your charter if there's a conflict between state law and the charter here. So this ballot measure this new charter will make politicians more accountable in the city of Elgin, and it will give more rights to the citizens.
yeah.
That's good.
One thing I figured out recently, and it was because we had the new city manager from the city of Union was on.
Celeste.
I've forgotten her name.
Yeah, Celeste Tate.
Pardon?
Celeste.
Celeste,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And super sharp gal, and really enjoyed it. And I ended up having a conversation with her afterwards. And one thing that she explained was, because we were talking about sheriff services, because the sheriff's office has a contract both with Union and with Elgin.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she said is like, well, yeah, but Elgin has a lot more money to spend than what Union does. And she explained that, she explained that back in the late 80s, when that 15% tax initiative came down, it was based upon what the taxes were in 1985, or what the percentage of the taxes were. And Elgin had been more proactive about continuing to increase their tax rate.
Yeah.
And the city of Union had not, And so then the base, I don't know, maybe you can give a little bit more credibility to what I'm saying, but it seems like what she said, so our tax rate, that we started in 87 was like, it was 2%. It was like $2 per 1,000 or something like that. And Elgin had proactively been raising theirs, and it was like $5 or $6 per. Does this all of this sound?
Yeah. So cities used to have, all local governments used to have just kind of unlimited taxing authority until the 1990s, when the timber economy was nuked by, and I'm going to say this, political motivations. A lot of cities said, well, we don't have timber money coming in anymore, counties and other government agencies. We need to replace that. So everybody started jacking up their property taxes, and property tax rates statewide got really volatile. So voters passed 2 ballot measures in the 90s that capped the property tax rates. You can't be taxed more than $50 per assessed thousand for a property. And it also said in the 1990s, everybody had to have a special election at that time to choose your permanent tax rate, the same tax rate you'll have forever. It also put limits on how much your property value could accrue every year for the purpose of taxation. And the only way a city can raise its property taxes really would be to have a ballot measure that dissolves and then reforms the city at the very same time, so that then they could have another election to increase the property tax rate. And nobody wants to roll the dice with dissolving a city. If you give it to hey, union voters, would you please dissolve the city and then reincorporate it? I think a lot of people might just get annoyed that this is on the ballot at all and go, we're going to vote to dissolve it and not vote to reincorporate.
Yeah.
And I mean, I say that for just any rural community that's like, we're trying to live our lives. We're not trying to play games with our property taxes. Please do one thing or the other.
All right.
So Elgin does have a much higher property tax rate than the city of Union. But I think when I was calculating it early this year, it looked like 89% of our property taxes go to the law enforcement contract we have with Union County.
Right.
So our voters end up paying double for it. Their Union County property taxes pay for it, and their city property taxes pay for it. And that's kind of bankrupting us. So there's going to have to be a lot of financial reworking over the city over the next year to make sure we can sustainably pay for everything. But giving that much of your property taxes to just one thing, it was a recipe for long-term
disaster.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So I have a soft spot in my heart for the Union County Sheriff's Office. I had relatives who worked there for many years. I really like Cody. I endorsed him for re-election because I think he is a wonderful guy, and I think he's got the right panache to make law enforcement serve the citizens in Union County. But I'm hoping over the next year we don't have to make a difficult choice that ends up reducing public safety services in the city of Elgin.
Well, and essentially that was what Celeste's point was, is that they don't have as much money to spend. I mean, because she was saying, well, yeah, our contract in Union is significantly less than the contract in Elgin, just simply because we don't have the tax rate. We don't have that, we don't have as much to spend. And so, I mean, every city, those are decisions that have to be made. So, yeah.
Well, Union County also helps them get grant funding to pay for their law enforcement contract.
Yeah. So how does Elgin have a fire department?
Elgin has a fire district. So
Rural fire.
rural,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like Island City has the LeGrand Rural Fire District. There's
Okay.
a fire district here. The city operates its own EMT services, but not a fire department.
Okay.
So it's like volunteer. They might have one paid employee, right? Out of
They've got
Elgin?
a chief, and then they've got probably a number of people on call.
And then a bunch of volunteers.
Yeah,
And then they cover, a fire district covers
yeah,
a
a much more
whole
expansive area.
It's kind of like county over city, right? When it comes to like when you look at like LeGrand Fire Department
right.
versus Island City Rural. Island City's going all out on the freeway, all out into the county, and then
Okay, yeah,
and then
and
Elgin would be the same.
and the district
but they cover the city too.
Yeah,
and the district part of that means that the people in that district are taxed to help pay for those services.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Elgin has quite a few special districts, and that's one thing that a lot of communities have done since the 1990s. When their cities run out of money, they'll ask the voters to create a new special district so they can get new taxes to pay for things. But there is a limit on that. There's something called compression. Because you're only allowed to tax $50 per assessed thousand, there is a formula that delegates if you're only allowed to be taxed 50, but the collective taxing agencies around you would tax $100 altogether.
Right.
There's a formula the state uses to determine who gets what, because you can't actually pull that full 100. So everybody ends up getting a piece of that $100 they charge, and school districts are at the very bottom of that.
Huh.
So it's part of the reason the gross receipts tax was put in place. Again, this is politically motivated state policy. The state constitution was written and amended a little bit after it was passed to take in something that Abraham Lincoln did. He gave states all over the West free land and said, harvest that land and sustainably harvest it and then use it to pay for schools. And that was done up until the 1990s when, again, political motivations resulted in that no longer occurring. Everybody raises their property tax rates and voters say, no, bring timber back. The politicians continue to say, no, we are not going to do that, but we'll pass gross receipts taxes on businesses. So it's not a great funding formula by any stretch of the imagination. The Constitution says just start harvesting your timber again, and that is not politically viable for a number of people in the legislature or on the State Lands Board, so they do not.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got a little bit of a civic lesson.
Yeah, there you go. It's not great.
Well, Alex, hey, thank you, man.
Absolutely.
It's always a great conversation. Appreciate you jumping in this morning, and Glad you're here. Glad you're home.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
be back.
all right, you want to get us out of here?
On this day, August 1st, 1498, there goes my earpiece. Christopher Columbus lands in South America for the first time, near the mouth of the Orinoco River in modern-day Venezuela. 1774, on this day, English chemist Joseph Priestley discovers oxygen by isolating it in its gaseous state. 1793, on this day, France becomes the first country to use the metric system. I wish we would figure out a way to just everybody use the same thing. During the Olympics, it really pisses me off more than anything because I have to like think in my head when they're talking about how much a boxer weighs, like 53 kilograms or like, come on, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
1911, on this day, Harriet Quimby becomes the first U.S. woman to earn her Aero Club of America aviator certificate. So basically, she becomes the first certified pilot that's a woman in the United States. 1914, on this day, Emperor Wilhelm II of Germany declares war on his nephew, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, which is the start of World War I. George Washington quarter goes into circulation on this day in 1932. So the very first quarter with George Washington's picture on it. 1941, the first Jeep is produced on this day. 1944, Anne Frank makes her last entry into her diary ever on this day, August 1st, 1944. She was arrested 3 days later. 1996, George R.R. Martin publishes the epic fantasy novel A Game of Thrones, which is the first in his series, A Song of Fire and Ice. Those are great books if you've never read them. They take a long time to read, but check them out. They're worth the time. 2018, Swedish crown jewels are stolen in a heist from, I'm not even going to Stockholm. We'll just say Stockholm. You know what I mean? But the crown jewels were stolen in 2018. On this day, the #1 movie in America in 1994 was The Mask. And then the quote of the day comes from Mary Lou Retton in honor of the Olympics. Each of us has a fire in our hearts for something. It's our goal in life to find it and keep it lit. One more time. Each of us has a fire in our hearts for something. It's our goal in life to find it and keep it lit. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Once again, thank you, Alex.
Good stuff,
to see you,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us here, man.
Appreciate you.
All right. See you next Tuesday.